Hey folks, gun skier on target training out here in Oregon. Before we get started, if you enjoy our content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. The comments really help drive the algorithm and, as importantly, they help me learn, helps our subscribers learn, and it begins that interaction where we all learn. Today, we'll be talking about the Glock 43X. So the 43X is a compact single stack magazine. However, if you use the shield arm magazine, the shield arms magazines are designed for 15 rounds, so double stack magazine if you don't live in a state that restricts your rights to carry a magazine with a capacity of more than 10 rounds. So the shield arms mags makes this platform, this pistol, in the same space as the Glock 19, so 16 plus 1. We've made some modifications to this specific pistol, the XS, and these are suppressor height night sights, which means I have visibility through my Holosun EPS, which is an enclosed optic, right, with the emitter that's enclosed, which makes it a heck of a lot easier to wipe it off front and back if anything gets on it. And if you drop it in the mud or something, you can wipe it off versus it getting into the emitter and causing some problems. Little different shape than the ones with an open emitter, but it works great. I personally am most used to iron sights, but there are a lot of advantage to red dots. I wanted to have a compact carry pistol that leveraged some technology, particularly around the green dot optic. Again, the 6 MOA green dot. Now, some of you might say, well, why not go with a 2 MOA? Well, I'm just telling, for me, guys, the smaller that dot is with a handgun, the more vibration and movement there is. Now, that 2 MOA is really great with a pistol if you have to make a super long distance shot, say, 25, 30, 40, 50 yards. However, if I'm at 30, 40, 50 yards, I'm planning on running away, so I may not need that. Let's talk about the pistol. Enough about the optic. What the heck? So I own a Glock 48 pistol, which has a longer slide, which gives me a little longer sight radius, but more importantly, a little longer barrel. And that has some advantages with velocity, but I don't care so much about that for this size of pistol or the Glock 48. Frankly, I think either one would get the job done. These are defensive tools. And that velocity might make a difference, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. So conventional Glock design, when Glock finally went back to their early generation design and they started updating their Gen 5 versions, they cut back and they got rid of all the finger grooves, which I was never a fan of, but some people like them anyway. This gun fits well in my hands. I've shot Glocks for long enough that when I come to point, the sights are right on for me, and that's just a training issue. Some people don't like the Glocks, I hear you. It has serrations on the front and on the rear. Some people like to press check up here. They like to get their hands right up near the barrel and press check. That's not for me. If it's for you, rock on. I prefer to be on the rear and coming back if I want to press check. However, whatever works for you. Now, unlike the Glock 48, the Glock 43X has essentially this cut, this rail, that allows you to attach laser light combinations or a light or whatever if you want to run that on your gun. Again, pros and cons to all of that. And here we go in comparison, as I mentioned, the 43X on the left, the Glock 48 on the right. Both of them solid options. But I have to say the 43X is a little bit more easy to conceal because it's a little teeny bit shorter, like an inch or 3/4 of an inch. That does make a difference. Very typical Glock pistol. There's nothing different about this from other Glocks in the sense that it's super easy to take down unless you're an ATF agent. Apparently, the ATF has a real challenge with confirming the pistol's unloaded, pressing the trigger, working the frame back just a little bit, slide back from the frame just a little teeny bit, and stripping the gun apart. This gun is exceptionally dirty. So we put about 300 rounds. I mean, it's pretty grody right now. Threw it yesterday. Shot about 200-ish, maybe 220 regular ball ammo, both 115 grain and some 147 grain ammo. Then I went, also shot some of the Federal 150 grain. That's right. Some of the Federal 150 grain as well. And all of that shot fine. No stoppages whatsoever, even though the gun was still in its break-in period. So what that said to me, guys, was it's as reliable as the other Glocks I've owned. And it is definitely capable of running pretty much any ammo you put through it. What was super interesting to me, though, was I shot some high-quality defensive rounds. So I shot some Federal HST 124 plus P. I shot some Winchester White Box 147. It's a jacketed hollow point. I shot some Ranger T 147. What else did I shoot? And some of the Hornady Critical Duty, the 135 plus P plus. It all functioned great, but the ammo that functioned the very best was, in terms of accuracy, or at least for me at that point in time, was the Ranger T 124 plus P. It's a bonded jacketed hollow point. Shot a very tight group at 5 yards like that. The other ones were, a little bit bigger, but they didn't give me quite as good accuracy. And it's certainly possible at that point in the day I was just, in a groove or whatever. Shooting steel, no problem. We shot at different distances, including out to 25 yards. Again, not a big deal. What I noticed, because I shoot a lot of Glock pistols, is that the pistols that are completely stock, until the trigger breaks in, and when it breaks in, I'm talking after 2,000 rounds, at that point the trigger's acceptable because it sort of works its way down from 5.5 or 6 pounds down to maybe 5 pounds because everything gets nice and worn in and honed. However, I generally prefer a 3.5 pound connector. So the thing for me is, I've shot enough, I've practiced enough, I am comfortable carrying a 3.5 pound connector. My finger does not go on the trigger until I'm at point and I decide that I want to press a shot. I just don't get on target and throw shots, even under stress, whether it's in competition or it's in simunitions or something. It doesn't happen. Could it happen? It could happen. If you're concerned, though, just stick with the stock pistol. It's adequate, it's fine, but it does make difficult shots, like really being precise and accurate with a handgun, much more difficult than if you get that 3.5 pound connector or do some other things. So what you'll note with a Glock are very, very typical. Right, we've got this take up to about here, and then it's a hard wall. At this point, a little bit more break. Reset. Same thing. And at the end of our range session, the very end of my finger that day, it still has a little bit left, was blistered just from that. Some people don't like the trigger face on the trigger at all. They hate it. They want a different shoe, like whatever, that's fine. But really this heavier weight, and me having to press through that every time, I got soft hands, what could I say? So my impressions are really solid pistol, a good option if you're looking for something for an everyday carry standpoint. I was using an inside the waistband and an outside the waistband holster. Both worked fine. What I do like about it though is it's compact. It's compact. And that compact size makes it more likely you're going to carry it regardless of the conditions that you, or clothes you might be wearing or something like that. You know, it's really, really comfortable to carry. And with the 15+1 capacity, leveraging the Shield Arms magazines, you're really able to take a relatively small pistol and put it in a position of having reasonable capacity with a high quality firearm that's incredibly reliable. So I don't consider this broken in yet. It will be broken in when we've got 500 rounds through it. But again, of all the different types of ammo we shot yesterday, nothing, we had no stoppages. Zero, zip, nada. Everything worked great. The sight's awesome. I do like the Holosun EPS with the enclosed emitter here. That works exceptionally well. Highly recommend the 3.0 MOA. I highly recommend the 6 MOA if it's a defensive application. It's easier, again, the dot is bigger. It's easier as you're looking at the target to pick up the dot, fire, look to your next target, fire, look to your next target, fire. So much easier versus a really small, precise dot. Also, if you want, and this is what's kind of interesting, is you can crank the intensity of that dot way down. When you do, the dot appears smaller, which means you still have the ability to be precise at distance if that's something you want to do. So in summary, guys, Glock 43X works well. Good thing to check out. Only gripe. Glock has this very sort of flat, uncut, there's no undercut here. So when you grip the pistol here, you are whacking your, or at least I am with my hands, I'm whacking my knuckle against that. And if this were undercut, or they had a slightly different shape to the trigger guard, it'd be way more comfortable. This is an example. This frame is a Glock Gen 4, and the frame was, and work here, the stippling and the undercut was done by my good friend Brad at BG Gunworks out in New Hampshire. I don't know if Brad's doing much of this work anymore, but it's absolutely outstanding. So when you grip with this undercut, and this is what Glock should do, I don't know why they won't, is that when you come up here, it just really changes the way in which the pistol fits your hand. It allows you to have more torque and also not have that rub against the knuckle, or close to the knuckle, at least on my hand. So again, let's look at the undercuts here, or lack thereof. So this one has had a slight grip reduction, and the undercut, oh boy, what a difference. What a huge difference in that. So that would be my only gripe, if that. And here we go in comparison, as I mentioned, the 43X on the left, the Glock 48 on the right. Both of them solid options. But I have to say the 43X is a little bit more easy to conceal because it's a little teeny bit shorter, like an inch or 3/4 of an inch. That does make a difference. Now we will also share with you a comparison between this pistol and the P365 XL by Sig Sauer. I've been carrying the P365 XL. I put a lot of rounds through it over the last 6 months, maybe 1,500 or so. Not a ton, but a lot. And so it's now pretty well broken in, and I know that pistol pretty well. I would give that pistol a slight edge over the Glock because Glock comes with plastic sights. And I call them sight holders because I always take the crappy Glock sights and I swap them out with some steel tritium night sights. That's just me. Some people love them, but not me. Well, folks, that's long enough. Enough of me talking and rambling on. Glock 43X, I do recommend it. If this is your first handgun, though, buy a full-size handgun. Glock 19, Glock 17, M&P, full-size M&P compact, Walther PPQs. You know, you go right down a list. I don't want to forget anyone. HKs, SIGs, I mean, anything. But go with a full-size or at least a mid-size or, quote, compact handgun before you go to micro or subcompacts or something like that, because they're easier to learn and shoot on than a, you know, compact carry gun, just because there's more to it. That's all I got for you today. Folks, I really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching, and finally, and as always, stay safe. Glock 43X with the Full Sun EPS 6 MOA green dot. I'm going to compare this to the SIG P365 XL, just 10 shots. Same drill. I'll have to slow down a little bit because I've got my irons back on.